Well, the pandemic landscape changes daily, and along with some of the frightening news, there is hope on the horizon. But we still have a lot to consider, both physically and mentally. So I'm delighted to welcome to LA Currents today RN Joanne O'Brien and psychologist Dr. Laura Kokenda, both from LA City Medical Services. Nice to have you both with us again.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right, well, obviously the safer at home restrictions are becoming looser and looser, and a lot of businesses are open, a lot of opportunities to go to restaurants, but there are still precautions we should take. What are some things we should consider before we actually just run outside and do whatever we want to do?
Well, we first need to consider that we're still in the purple phase, which means that the infection is widespread. Even though we have hospitalization rates, death rates, and positivity rates going down. So that's why we can open things up a little bit. So when you go out, you still need to do all of those same public health measures, such as wearing a face mask, washing your hands, keeping that social distance. All of those things still matter. And when you wear a mask, it needs to be over your nose and your mouth.
There has been such a resistance to wearing a mask. There's a psychology to that. Why are people resistant to wearing masks? What is it that makes somebody fight back for something like that?
Well, there's a lot of different things at play. One, culturally, America is a place of great independence, which is awesome, but also we don't necessarily like being told what to do sometimes. Individually, people might have some anxiety about the pandemic still, and not seeing masks, not putting one on. It's a way of sort of distancing yourself from what's really going on. It's a bit of, it can be denial. People just assume, I don't know anybody who's had this, it's not going to happen to me, and they hope that that continues for them, which unfortunately it doesn't for everyone, but those are some of the factors at play.
But at this point in time, I mean, it's been scientifically determined that masks are one of the greatest ways for us to protect ourselves, and now we're even talking about double masking. Is there a reason to double mask, and is there any kind of physical issue that is caused by wearing a mask or double masking?
There is no reason to not wear a mask unless you have some medical condition, such as you have to have oxygen all the time, and then even you should still wear a bandana, because the alternative is getting COVID-19, which could be deadly. In terms of a double mask, and it sort of gets back to the resistance, any mask is good. Let's just start with one, and if everybody would wear a mask, it would stop the transmission by a lot. And if we could sort of stop that, that would help and give us time to vaccinate.
Let's chat vaccine for a couple minutes here. Lots of different types of vaccines. Do they vary wildly, or are they basically all the same mechanism coming from a different source?
The two vaccines that are approved for use right now are the Pfizer and the Moderna, and they're relatively the same. Everybody's sort of heard the mRNA, which is a messenger RNA, and what they did is made a synthetic protein that makes the spike, which we all know is sort of characteristic of this virus. So it teaches your body, or it fools your body into making antibodies, which are the proteins that help you fight infection. So when your body, if you do get exposed to that and you do get sick, your body knows what to do and will fight off the infection.
There's no live virus in these vaccines.
None.
This is just a protein.
Correct. For people that are frightened about a vaccine, I just challenge you to be curious, read, look it up. There's just, go to reputable sites. And talk to your provider, get more information so you feel comfortable.
You actually got me a really interesting site, vaccinatecalifornia.com or .gov, I can't remember, and
vaccinatec.com.
It was great because you just put in your zip code and it gave an enormous array of information for multiple counties about who has what, and it's contemporary, it's being kept current. So, I'm glad that those kinds of resources are coming up. Yeah. There are a range of reactions to the vaccine, but what are like the standard things that one would expect to feel after the first dose and then after the second?
The first dose, you might have a sore arm, feel a little achy, might have a small fever. The second dose, you're going to have a little stronger reaction. It's just because this is novel, it's new. So when this is introduced, your body kind of goes, well, I kind kind of don't know what this is and I don't feel very well. But the second time you get it, your body's like, okay, I know what this is. So your immune system is a little stronger. So those are very normal reactions. That means your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and it's making antibodies. So you might feel like you might have a fever, you might have the chills, you might feel achy, headache, sore arm. Those are all very normal and just part of getting the vaccine.
When does it cross over to this isn't normal, please, I need to talk to somebody pretty quick?
If you continue to have real severe symptoms, really high fever, you start coughing, I would absolutely call your doctor.
Is there like a window of time?
I would say if this went on more than a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, I would call your doctor.
Right, and I'm sure there might actually be some psychological responses to getting the vaccine too, because it, as you said, it's novel, it's new, and we're all trying to do the right thing, but there's a little fear factor going on here too.
There is, especially when people see headlines about the few reactions that have happened, which is not abnormal for vaccines or medical treatment in general. But you go and you wonder, is this going to be me? There have been some people who have had to do their deep breathing and sort of sit there after the shot to make sure they check in with their body. They're concerned about something, but then they realize, the reason I felt short of breath is because I was anxious, and that was what happened. But and also with people getting the side effects from the shot, initially I know that's been concerning to a lot of people until they recognize that it means the vaccine is working, and then they start to dissipate and it goes away, and they're very happy then that they've gone through the process. But it takes a little mental preparation.
Are there self-check things that we should be doing to make sure that, because it's hard to see yourself. It's hard, I can see, oh, you're not doing well, but how do I know I'm not doing well?
One thing that everyone is suffering from, whether you realize it or not, is burnout. And not because necessarily you're working so hard, which is what we used to think burnout meant, but it could be burnout from being at home with our spouse or our partner or our children, or burnout from being home alone, or burnout from being the one who has to go and face the pandemic day after day in a public service role or other necessary roles. So burnout comes with irritability, trouble sleeping, low energy, withdrawal. All these things might be signs of that. So it's good to keep an eye out and see if our behavior's changed, how we're coping with it, also what we might be drinking to cope with it. That's another thing that has been an increase in alcohol use lately. So all these things are good to keep tabs on.
And if we have realized that some of those checking all these boxes, what should we do? What do we do? Obviously reach out, telemed or talk or whatever, but are there things that we should just be doing at home, exercise, yoga?
Yes, stick with the basics,
well.
healthy habits, all of those things. It's not a good time to be reaching for the junk food day in and day out. That will affect our mood and our well-being as well. Try to get some exercise, even if it's just a short walk around the block each day. Not only does that give you exercise, but it gets you out of the home if you're someone who's been working from home, and it's a safe thing to do. So it's another good time to be creative and think, all right, I've taken my walk 9,000 times this year, it feels like. What else can I do to get some fresh air? Maybe you drive to a different park to get a change of scenery. All these things can help.
Well, if people are really interested in finding out what's going on in LA, I imagine, as you said, there's lots of websites, but what's the website in which we can reach out?
I think it's corona/virus.la.
And it keeps getting more and more information going on.
So if you Google that, and they keep it current, it's got information about testing, vaccines, statistics in terms of what the city's positivity rates are. And it's very informational.
Well, thank you both for being such incredibly strong advocates for the right things to do and clarifying information. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you having us and giving us the opportunity.
And that's a wrap on this LA Currents.